The studio lights burned hot, casting a golden glow across the set of Kelly Clarkson's talk show. The audience buzzed with anticipation, their murmurs a low hum beneath the polished stage. Kelly, dressed in a sharp blazer and jeans, leaned forward in her chair, her trademark grin lighting up her face as she introduced her guest. Blake Shelton, country music's larger-than-life star, strode out with his easy swagger. Denim jacket slung over a black tee, his boots clicking against the floor. The crowd erupted, clapping and whistling as he waved, his dimpled smile masking the faint tension in his jaw. Kelly stood to hug him, her warmth genuine, but there was a flicker in her eyes, a spark that hinted at something more than the usual banter. They settled into their seats. The set designed to feel like a cozy living room, complete with plush armchairs and a coffee table stacked with magazines. Kelly launched into her opening, her voice bright but pointed, teasing Blake about his latest album. "So, Blake, this new record, it's got folks talking, some saying it's a departure, maybe too polished for your roots. What's the deal? You going pop on us?" The audience laughed, but Blake's smile tightened, his fingers tapping the armrest. He leaned back, crossing one leg over the other, and shot back, "Kelly, you know I don't chase trends. I make music that feels right, and if folks don't get it, that's their problem." His tone was light, but the edge was unmistakable, a warning shot wrapped in charm. Kelly, never one to back down, tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Oh, come on, don't get all defensive. I'm just saying, some of your diehard fans are wondering if you're still that Oklahoma boy or if Hollywood's got you now." The crowd oohed, sensing the shift. Blake's laugh was sharp, more bark than warmth. "Hollywood. Kelly, I'm still hauling hay bales in my head. You're the one with the fancy talk show set, Miss Big City." The jab landed, and the audience chuckled. But Kelly's smile didn't falter. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a playful but pointed tone. "Careful, Shelton, you're sounding like you've got something to prove." The banter continued, each quip sharper than the last. The chemistry that usually made their friendship a fan favorite now laced with something heavier. Kelly pivoted to Blake's personal life, a topic she knew was tricky. "So, you and Gwen, y'all are basically music royalty now, right? But I hear you're dodging questions about the future. What's up with that?" Blake's face hardened, his easy grin gone. He shifted in his seat, his voice low. "Not everything's for public consumption, Kelly. Some things are private, you know?" The audience quieted, the air thick with tension. Kelly, sensing the mood, tried to lighten it. "Oh, come on, we're just chatting. Fans want to know what's next for Blake Shelton, the man, not just the singer." But Blake wasn't having it. His eyes locked on hers, and for a moment, the studio felt smaller, the lights hotter. "You want to know what's next? How about I keep doing what I do, and folks stop trying to dissect my life like it's a gossip column?" The words hung heavy, and Kelly's smile faltered. Just for a second, she recovered quickly, tossing her hair back with a laugh. All right, let's take a breather. We'll be right back after the break." Folks, the cameras cut, and the audience clapped on cue, but Blake's jaw was tight, his hands clenched on the armrests. As the stage crew bustled around, resetting for the next segment, Kelly leaned over, her voice low. "You okay, Blake?" That got a little intense. He didn't look at her, just muttered, "I'm fine, just don't push me like that." The stage manager called for places, and the lights flared back up, but the air between them crackled, unresolved, as the show rolled on. The studio lights snapped back on, and the audience's applause filled the air, a forced cheer that did little to mask the undercurrent of tension. Kelly Clarkson leaned forward, her smile bright but strained, as she welcomed everyone back to the show. Blake Shelton sat across from her, his posture rigid, one hand gripping the armrest while the other toyed with the edge of his denim jacket. The easy camaraderie that usually defined their exchanges was gone, replaced by a brittle edge that made the crowd shift in their seats. Kelly, ever the professional, launched into the next segment, her voice a touch too enthusiastic. "All right, y'all, we're back with Blake Shelton, and we're gonna have some fun now, right, Blake?" Her eyes flicked to him, searching for a signal he was ready to move on. Blake nodded, but his smile was thin, more courtesy than warmth. "Sure thing, Kelly, let's do this." His voice was steady, but the audience could sense the effort behind it. Kelly, picking up on the mood, pivoted to a lighter topic, pulling out a stack of cards for a game segment. "So, we've got this little game called Country Confessions, where Blake's gotta answer some fan questions, rapid-fire style. You ready?" She held up a card, her grin playful but cautious, like someone testing thin ice. Blake leaned back, crossing his arms. "Hit me with it, I ain't scared." The crowd chuckled, but the laughter felt hollow. Everyone waiting for the next spark. Kelly read the first card, her tone upbeat. "Favorite guilty pleasure song you're listening to right now, and don't say one of your own." Blake smirked, relaxing slightly. "Easy, Springsteen's Dancing in the Dark. Gets me every time." The audience clapped, and Kelly nodded approvingly. "Solid choice. Okay, next one. Biggest pet peeve on tour. Blake's eyes narrowed, and he paused, his voice dropping. People who think they know what it's like to live my life, asking questions they got no business asking. The jab wasn't subtle, and the crowd's murmurs grew louder. Kelly's smile flickered, but she pressed on, flipping to the next card. All right, let's keep it moving. If you could swap lives with another artist for a day, who'd it be? Blake didn't hesitate. Nobody, I'm good being me. His tone was sharp, almost defiant, and Kelly's laugh was a little too quick. Come on, not even for a day. What about, say, Dolly Parton? She's got that charm, that empire. Blake's jaw tightened, and he leaned forward, his voice low but cutting. Kelly, I don't need to be anybody else. Maybe some folks should try being themselves instead of digging into other people's lives. The audience gasped, a few whispers rippling through the crowd. Kelly's face flushed, but she kept her composure, tossing the cards onto the table. With a forced chuckle, okay, Mr. Serious. Let's switch gears. How about we talk about your new single? Tell us what inspired it. The shift was meant to diffuse, but Blake wasn't letting go. He leaned back, his eyes locked on hers. You want to know about inspiration? It's about real life, real struggles, not the stuff tabloids or talk shows try to spin into drama. The dig was unmistakable, and the audience went silent, the air thick with unease. Kelly's smile vanished, her hands clasping tightly in her lap. Blake, I'm just doing my job here, giving fans what they love. You don't have to come at me like that. Her voice was calm, but there was steel in it, a warning of her own. Blake scoffed, shaking his head. Your job feels more like a setup to me. The crowd stirred, some clapping nervously, others whispering. The stage manager signaled for a wrap, but the cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of the standoff as Kelly's eyes flashed with something between hurt and frustration. And Blake's stare didn't waver, the stage lights glinting off his clenched jaw. The studio air felt charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. The audience sat hushed, their eyes darting between Kelly Clarkson and Blake Shelton, whose stare hadn't softened. Kelly, her hands still clasped tightly, leaned forward, her voice steady but laced with an edge of defiance. A setup? Blake, come on, you know me better than that. This show's about having fun, connecting with fans, not throwing punches. Her words were measured, but the hurt in her eyes was clear, a flicker of betrayal that the cameras caught in close-up. Blake's jaw twitched, his fingers drumming on the armrest, the rhythm betraying his struggle to keep cool. Fun's one thing, Kelly, digging where you don't belong's another, he said, his voice low, each word deliberate. The crowd stirred, a mix of gasps and murmurs rippling through the seats. Kelly's producer, offstage, gestured frantically to the stage manager, who hovered near the set, unsure whether to cut to commercial. Kelly ignored them, her focus locked on Blake. I'm not digging, Blake, I'm asking questions fans care about, questions you've answered 100 times before. What's got you so wound up today? Her tone was firm, pushing back, but there was a plea beneath it, an attempt to reach the friend she'd known for years. Blake's eyes flickered, a moment of hesitation, but then he leaned forward, his voice rising just enough to carry, maybe I'm tired of the same old script, Kelly. Tired of people thinking they're entitled to every piece of me. The audience went dead silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Kelly's face tightened, her smile long gone. She set the stack of game cards aside, abandoning the segment entirely. All right, let's be real then. You're acting like I'm the enemy here, but I'm just doing what I do, same as you. If you've got something to say, just say it. Her voice cracked slightly, not from weakness but from the strain of holding back her own frustration. Blake's laugh was bitter, almost a scoff. You want real? Fine. Real is me showing up here, thinking we're gonna have a good time, and instead getting grilled like I'm on trial. You want to talk music? Talk music. Leave the rest alone. The crowd erupted in a mix of cheers and uneasy whispers. Some siding with Blake's raw honesty, others shocked at the unraveling scene. Kelly's eyes widened, but she didn't flinch. Grilled. Blake, I asked about your album, your tour, your life. That's what this show is. If you didn't want to talk, why'd you come? Her words were sharp now, the gloves off, and the audience leaned in, hanging on every syllable. Blake's face darkened, his voice dropping to a near growl. I came because I thought you'd get it. Kelly, thought you'd know where the line is. Guess I was wrong. The stage lights seemed to burn brighter, amplifying the raw intensity between them. The producer signaled again, but Kelly waved him off, her focus unwavering. You're not wrong about me, Blake. You're just mad. And I don't know why, but if you're gonna sit here and throw shade, at least own it. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly, betraying the effort it took to stay composed. Blake stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor, the sound jarring in the quiet studio. Own it. I'm owning it right now. I don't need this. Kelly, I'm done. He turned, his boots heavy on the stage, and strode toward the wings, the audience gasping as he disappeared behind the curtain. Kelly sat frozen, her face a mix of shock and anger, as the cameras panned to her. catching the moment before the director finally cut to commercial, the screen fading to black, with the audience's stunned murmurs echoing in the background. The studio lights dimmed as the commercial break rolled, but the tension lingered like smoke. The audience buzzed, their whispers a chaotic hum, some craning their necks to see where Blake Shelton had stormed off, others turning to each other. Dissecting the clash, Kelly Clarkson remained in her chair, her face a mask of composure, but her hands betrayed her. Fidgeting with the edge of her blazer, the stage manager rushed over, headset askew, muttering about damage control, while the producer paced near the control booth, barking orders into a walkie-talkie. Kelly's eyes stayed fixed on the spot where Blake had vanished, her jaw tight, as if replaying the moment he'd walked out. The crew scrambled, resetting the set, but the air felt heavy. The usual post-segment bustle replaced by a nervous energy. Backstage, Blake was a shadow, moving through the dim corridors. His boots, echoing against the concrete floor, he shoved open a side door to the green room, ignoring the startled assistant who jumped up from a couch, clutching a clipboard. "You okay, Mr. Shelton?" She ventured, but he waved her off, his voice gruff. "Just need a minute." He sank into a chair, running a hand through his hair, his breath uneven. The green room was quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos outside, with its muted walls and a table strewn with water bottles and half-eaten snacks. Blake's phone buzzed in his pocket, but he ignored it, his mind racing. He hadn't planned to lose it out there, hadn't meant to turn a friendly chat into a public feud. But Kelly's questions had hit a nerve, one too raw to ignore. On set, the commercial break ended, and the cameras swung back to Kelly, who forced a smile, her voice steady but strained. "Welcome back, folks. Well, that was unexpected, but we're gonna keep the show rolling." The audience clapped, though the applause was hesitant, unsure. Kelly leaned forward, her hands clasped, and pivoted to a new segment, introducing a musical guest with her usual charm. But her eyes darted to the wings, as if expecting Blake to reappear, to laugh it off like old times. He didn't. The crew had been instructed to move on, to fill the airtime, but the absence of Blake hung over the set, a ghost in the room. Social media was already lighting up, audience members tweeting snippets of the clash, clips spreading like wildfire. In the green room, Blake finally checked his phone, the screen glowing with notifications. Texts from his team, a missed call from Gwen, and a flood of mentions online, fans and critics alike picking apart the moment. He scrolled through a few, his jaw tightening at the headlines already forming. Blake Shelton's meltdown on Clarkson's show. He tossed the phone onto the table, muttering under his breath. The assistant hovered nearby, unsure whether to speak. "You want me to get someone, your manager?" she asked, her voice cautious. Blake shook his head. "Just tell him, I'm out. I ain't going back out there." She nodded and slipped out, leaving him alone with the hum of the air conditioner, and his own thoughts back on set. Kelly wrapped this segment, her smile brighter now, but it didn't reach her eyes. As the cameras cut for another break, she stood, brushing past the crew to head backstage. The producer caught her arm, his voice low. "Kelly, we need to talk about how to spin this. It's blowing up online." She pulled away, her voice sharp. "I don't care about spin right now. I need to talk to Blake." She moved toward the green room, her steps quick, determined, the weight of their friendship and the public fallout pushing her forward, the studio's chaos fading behind her. As she prepared to face whatever came next, the green room door creaked as Kelly Clarkson pushed it open, her silhouette sharp against the bright hallway light. Blake Shelton looked up from the chair where he slouched, his phone now idle on the table, its screen dark. The air was thick, with the scent of coffee and leftover catering, but the real weight came from the silence between them. Kelly closed the door behind her, shutting out the distant hum of the studio crew. Her blazer was slightly rumpled now, her face a mix of resolve and exhaustion. She didn't sit, just stood with her arms crossed, her eyes locked on Blake. "You didn't have to walk out like that," she said, her voice low but firm, cutting through the quiet. "You made it a spectacle." Blake's gaze met hers, his eyes hard but flickering with something softer, maybe regret. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his voice rough. "You pushed me, Kelly, you kept digging, and I told you to stop. What did you expect?" His words weren't loud, but they carried the same raw edge from the stage, a mix of frustration and something deeper, unspoken. Kelly took a step closer, her hands dropping to her sides. "I expected you to talk to me, not turn it into a showdown. In front of a live audience, we're friends, Blake, or at least I thought we were." Her voice wavered, not from weakness but from the sting of the moment, the public unraveling of a bond she'd trusted. Blake's jaw tightened, and he stood, his height filling the small room. "Friends don't put friends on the spot like that. Kelly, you know what I've been dealing with. The noise, the rumors. You didn't have to lean into it." He paced a step, his boots scuffing the floor, then turned back to her. "I came here to talk music, to have a good time, not to get my life picked apart." Kelly's eyes narrowed, her voice rising slightly. "I wasn't picking you apart. I asked about your album, your tour, stuff you've always talked about. You're the one who turned it into a fight." What's going on with you? This isn't just about me. The question hung between them, heavy and unanswered. Blake's hands clenched, then relaxed, his shoulders sagging slightly. It's everything, he admitted, his voice quieter now, almost reluctant. The press, the fans, the constant questions about me and Gwen, about what's next, like I owe everybody an answer. I'm tired, Kelly, tired of being a headline. His honesty caught her off guard, and for a moment her anger softened, her face reflecting the friend who'd shared laughs and late-night talks over the years. I get that, she said, her tone gentler, but you can't just shut down and lash out, especially not at me. I'm not the enemy here. Blake looked away, his eyes tracing the edge of the table. Didn't mean to make you the enemy, but out there, it felt like you were coming for me, like everybody else. Kelly shook her head, stepping closer, her voice steady but urgent. I wasn't. I was trying to do my job, keep the show moving, give the fans something real. If I crossed a line, I'm sorry, but you walking out, that hurt. Blake, not just the show, but me. Her words landed hard, and Blake's gaze snapped back to her, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. The room felt smaller, the air charged with the weight of their shared history and the rawness of the moment. Outside, the assistant hovered by the door, catching snippets of the conversation, her clipboard forgotten. The producer's voice crackled through her headset, urging her to get Kelly back on set, but she hesitated, sensing the gravity inside. Kelly took a deep breath, her eyes searching Blake's. You gonna come back out there? Finish the show. Blake's silence stretched, his hands shoved into his pockets, the decision hanging between them as the studio clock ticked closer to the next segment. The green room's silence pressed in, broken only by the faint hum of the studio beyond the door. Blake Shelton stood with his hands in his pockets, his eyes fixed on the floor, Kelly Clarkson's question lingering unanswered. Her gaze didn't waver, steady but softened by the weight of their conversation. You gonna come back out there? Finish the show? She'd asked, her voice carrying both a challenge and a hope. Blake's shoulders shifted, a slow exhale escaping him as he finally looked up. I don't know, Kelly, he said, his tone raw, stripped of the defensiveness that had fueled their clash. I didn't come here to blow things up. But going back out there, acting like nothing happened, that ain't me. Kelly nodded, her lips pressed into a thin line, understanding but not conceding. I get it, but walking away doesn't fix this, Blake. Not for you, not for me, not for the fans who saw it all go down. She took a step back, giving him space, her hands resting on her hips. You don't owe the world your whole life, but you showed up today. That means something. Her words were gentle but firm, a reminder of the unspoken pact between them, forged through years of shared stages and late-night talks. Blake's eyes flickered, a mix of guilt and resolve, as he wrestled with the choice. The assistant outside, the door shifted nervously, her headset buzzing with the producer's insistent voice, urging Kelly to return. She knocked lightly, her voice hesitant. Ms. Clarkson, we're back in 2 minutes. Kelly glanced at the door, then back at Blake, her expression unreadable. Your call, she said simply, turning toward the door but pausing, giving him one last chance to decide. Blake ran a hand over his face, his boots scuffing the floor as he took a step forward. All right, he muttered, almost to himself. Let's do this. But no more games, Kelly, just music. Kelly's face softened, a faint smile breaking through. Just music, she agreed, opening the door and leading the way back to the set. The studio lights flared as they emerged. The audience's applause, hesitant at first, then swelling as Blake followed Kelly to the stage. Whispers rippled through the crowd, phones already capturing the moment, social media poised to explode. Kelly took her seat, her smile professional but warm, while Blake settled beside her, his posture looser but still guarded. The cameras rolled, and Kelly leaned forward, her voice steady. Welcome back, y'all. We've had a real moment here today, but we're keeping it moving with Blake Shelton, who's gonna tell us about his new single. She glanced at him, her eyes conveying a silent truce. Blake nodded, his voice gruff but genuine. Yeah, let's talk music. This song's about roots, about holding on to what matters. Wrote it after a long night on the road, just me and a guitar. The segment flowed smoother now, Blake's passion for his craft cutting through the earlier tension. He spoke about the song's inspiration, his Oklahoma upbringing, the quiet moments that shaped him. Kelly listened, her questions thoughtful, steering clear of the personal minefields that had sparked their clash. The audience leaned in, drawn to the authenticity, the rawness of two friends finding their footing again. As Blake finished, Kelly smiled, her voice warm. That's why we love you, Blake. You keep it real. He chuckled, the sound softer now, a crack in his armor. Trying to, Kelly. Trying to. The show wrapped with a performance, Blake's voice filling the studio, rich and steady, the crowd swaying to the music. Kelly stood off stage, watching, her arms crossed but her expression softer, the weight of the day settling into something quieter. As the final notes faded, the audience roared, and Blake waved, his smile genuine but tired, before disappearing into the wings. Kelly took the stage for her closing remarks, her voice bright but tinged with emotion. "Thanks for being here, y'all. Life's messy, but we keep showing up. See you next time." The lights dimmed, the cameras cut, and the story of their clash, already viral, became a moment of real connection, raw and unresolved, but undeniably human.